hope you're having a lovely day. My name is Jennifer and I'm a Puerto Rican illustrator based in Orlando, Florida, and today I'm doing a sketchbook tour. And instead of showing you just one sketchbook, I'm going to show you two of my sketchbooks because I feel like it took for me to fill up these two sketchbooks to fully find my style and feel comfortable in my sketchbooks and being able to just let loose and draw in a way that makes me feel happy but also that feels like me. In this sketchbook I was exploring and experimenting a lot, trying to figure out where I really wanted to head, and in this sketchbook I already figured out where I was heading and was just having a lot more fun with that direction. So I think it's pretty fun to see the difference and to see how I got to where I'm at right now. So let's go right into it. So this is my first sketchbook that I started in May of 2020, and this was when I decided to get back into doing art after taking a year-long break. The sketchbook brand is Denik, and they help build schools and support artists. The cover art was done by Leo's Cannon, is what I believe it says. So yeah, I saw it, I loved the colors, I loved the way it looked, and to me it felt very inspiring, so I grabbed it. I actually really liked working on this sketchbook. The paper is not too thin and not too thick, and I was able to work with different medias, and here, as you will see, I was very intimidated about starting a new sketchbook, especially after taking such a long break from my art. So I completely did not do anything in the first page or the second page or the third page. I left those blank. I just could not get myself to do anything on them. So I ended up just taping this snake sketch that I'd made on here just to kind of have it not blank. But this is technically the first spread that I ever made. This is the first page that I made, which was with acrylic gouache, I believe is what I used. Maybe it was actual gouache, I'm not 100% sure, but it was some sort of gouache. I do know that. And I love this one so much. It's still a favorite. I love the colors of it. I love the textures that I was able to get with the paints, and I was also mixing with color pencils, so it was like my first time trying out mixed media. Over here I was just kind of doing some doodles, and as I wrote down, I was feeling very rusty. I was trying to figure out what mediums I wanted to use in my work, and I was trying to figure out what subjects I wanted to work on. I was just very much experimenting, and this is the beginning of where I started using sketchbooks as a place to just experiment in ways that I wouldn't in my actual work. So because I hadn't done art in a while, I was doing a lot more experimenting and really trying to figure out what made me happy. Here you can see that I was working with acrylic paint, some color pencils, and just kind of mixing everything up. And I don't necessarily have a style going on just yet. I was just really trying to figure things out, and everything is very loose, very sketchy. I kind of love that, but at the same time it does feel very stiff, and it wasn't so me. This was another page of me just kind of doodling, just trying to fill things up. I knew I wanted to draw, and I wasn't really picky on what my subjects were. I was just looking at pictures on Pinterest, and whatever caught my eye, I would go for it. This was just that, some reference ones right here, and this was me attempting to do kind of like a Studio Ghibli vibe on some clouds. I really like the way that this one came out. I ended up mixing a little bit of color pencil into this one. Here was me attempting to figure out my style with character design for the first time after not drawing for a while. I really like the way that this color combo looks. I like the way that she came out, but so much has changed in my style. So I don't draw people like that anymore, but it's very interesting to see how much everything has developed. This was a practice page of where they do the videos and they post for a while, and this was me trying to do some hands, and then again just still drawing from reference, trying to figure out how I want to draw people. The only way to do that is by doing it, like actually drawing. So that's what I was doing, even though I definitely don't like them and I didn't feel comfortable doing them, but doing so made me figure out what was the way that I wanted to do them. Right here was the first time I decided to try out repetition in my work. I've been doing that a lot more lately, in my work, but I wasn't doing it before, and I think this was about the first time that I introduced it into my sketchbook. And it's the same landscape done in 3 different ways with 3 different mediums. This one is color pencil, this one is with acrylic, and this one is watercolor, color pencils, and acrylic. I love the way that each one of them looks different but also the same, and it is the same landscape. It's just that the different mediums give it a different feel and different textures, and I love that so much. I'm very obsessed with urban landscapes, so that's what these sketches are. I also really like the way that my sketches turn out with pencil, but I don't work like that often. Right here is doing more character design work and trying to figure out how I wanted to draw people. If you see the eyes here, I was drawing them like this, and then I kind of figured that I like doing this little thing for like the cornea, I think it's what it is. So I started using that, and then I also worked on the way that I was doing my noses. So I was starting to just kind of figure out what were the things that I wanted to change. This was another loose study of those videos where people post for a while. Here is me practicing from reference and trying to do different poses in my work because it's important for me to have movement, and I wanted to start doing that. But my work here still feels very stiff. I was still definitely thinking too much about what I was doing, and you could see how stiff I was even in my sketches, but it's just part of the process. I was practicing how I wanted to do like a paintery style, but I don't really paint like that. It's very interesting to see a very realistic painting that I've done, even though I don't paint like that. It's like semi-realistic, but compared to my work right now, it's very realistic feeling. This is one I really like the way that it came out. It's so eccentric, and I love how rendered I made it look. It's nothing like my work now, and it feels very not me, but I really love that I was able to do something like that. Here, this was done with Copic markers, just drawing elements that I like. You can see how I love drawing flowers. I still do. The vases are still something I love to draw, and I have my characters. I love how they came out. I don't draw people like that anymore, but I really do love that the way that they look. They look beautiful, so does she. And this was a reference from one of my Facebook friends, so I thought it was really pretty, the picture that she took, and I made a painting of it. Then some flowers. I like this page so much, and I actually like the way that the spread looks together. It's very cohesive, very pretty. This is just some pencil sketching, and then like a concept page right here. I was trying to figure out a color palette. And then right here was kind of where I decided to take a break. I did this page right here last off reference, and then this is a tattoo commission that I got. And then I just kind of took a break and would only pick it up every now and then and just kind of dump a couple of ideas. I used to work with black and white a lot in the past, so sometimes it's like a little of a comfort zone for me to go back to it. But at this point, I was still very scared of my sketchbook. I didn't know how to treat it. Once I saw that things weren't looking so perfect, I was just kind of scared to go back, and I didn't really understand at the moment that sketchbooks are a safe space for you to do things that look ugly and do things that look good and things that look okay. And it doesn't matter because it's just a sketchbook. That's where you're exploring and learning. So I hadn't gotten that concept yet. I really love the way that she came out. I love her. I love the colors. Also, I like the way that she came out. I need to do more sketching like that. This was a spread, one of my favorites that I made, done with acrylic gouache. This was one of the first times that I started to do like a graphic novel comic like feel to my sketchbook pages, and I really liked the way that they look because I was able to draw so many different things and only have it in one page. It's like almost a bit of a story or like a mood board, and it's super fun. I really like this one. And this was another one I did, and I love the whole thing, but this rectangle right here is for sure my favorite from the whole thing. This was just like a page that I painted, never did anything with it, so I just taped it onto my sketchbook. This was done with Copic markers, and then again just like dump pages and just me kind of using my sketchbook to just let loose, which is kind of what it's supposed to be. And then here's like a perfect painting, just because I thought that a sketchbook needed to look good. I wanted my sketchbook to look good, so it kind of took away from me learning because of me trying to be a perfectionist about it. But then there's pages like this where I was definitely understanding the point of being loose and just drawing what I need to draw. Y'all, I am so sorry for Kiki because I tried to do a Kiki drawing and this was my first drawing of her. I don't know what was going on, and that's what I mean by like the sketchbook. You can draw some things that are just like, what? Poor Kiki, I'm so sorry. This is better. And then I painted her. But wow, poor Kiki. Just like a blah page. Another one. This was me trying to draw in person. I didn't take this sketchbook so serious at this point. I was still just kind of using it. I wanted to fill it up, and I knew that I wanted to have stuff in it and it be done, and I needed to use it. So sometimes I would just pick it up to do concept ideas and things like this was a jacket that I painted, and I wanted to figure out what I was going to paint on it and how I wanted it to look, so I did that here. And then here is where I just kind of decided to let loose, kind of just dump on it, and came to the terms that, you know, it's just my sketchbook, it's fun. I was doing some concept planning for an illustration that I got hired from Nespresso to do about coffee and Puerto Rico. This is just some sketching from reference, and again, just kind of concept for the Puerto Rico illustration, some branding stuff, and then some more doodly pages. And then over here, which is the end, and I made a YouTube video finishing this sketchbook. So these might look familiar to some of you, but this is where I finally let loose. I picked it up, I think in 2022 after not using it for a while, and it's a big difference in the way that it looks now to what it looked like then. But this is where I feel like I started to let loose and started to really get into terms with sketchbooking, and also started to figure out my style a lot more. Here you can see that like spread feel to it, and still the same kind of color vibes, but it's more loose. Like, it doesn't feel so stiff, and I love that. I love that for me because I was always so stiff and I always cared so much, but towards the end I wasn't caring as much, and that's where I was having fun, and that's where to me the sketchbook feels fun. And like, that's what it's supposed to be. That's kind of what this page represents. It says free because I finally felt free doing my drawings and my sketchbook, and I finally was having fun, which is why I wrote art should be fun, because it should, and finally it felt like it. But that was the end of my sketchbook, so I decided that it was time to start a new one and implement all the looseness that I was finally getting comfortable with. So that's where this one came in. But before I found that looseness, I did start this one, and this one was started December 2nd of 2020, and I had goals written on this one, and it was to have fun and experiment, to practice scenery and landscapes, use mixed media, have fun, and also to fulfill it up. So to fully fill it up, which is what I did. But in this page here, which this was still 2020, and you can see that it looks like the stuff that were on the other sketchbook. But this was also like then. You can see this looks very similar to the beginning of the other sketchbook. And then I let it go, didn't pick it up for a long time, pretty much 2 years. Picked it up again, and this is where we're at, where I decided to loosen up, to really figure out my style, and yeah, so let's go through it. So one of my goals was to do landscapes, which was what I said, and for me, urban landscapes are pretty fun. This was based off a picture of San Juan, Puerto Rico, and then this was just like a little very loose painting that I did. This was me trying again with the landscape, just using some very unordinary colors, and this is where I decided that I needed to fully loosen up, and I wrote pure joy, exploring with no actual finished product and brand is all I need right now. So that was pretty much what this page is right here, just a dump. And again, same thing here. Sometimes just going in with a marker and not being able to erase my markings is very good for me, so that's what I did here. But you can tell I was still not in the mood, so I left a lot of this page blank. From here on out is where I really loosened up, where I am the happiest with my sketchbook, and where I finally figured out why I love sketchbooking and the way that I love to sketchbook. So this color combo right here I love so much. I love the mark making in here. I love the looseness. I love the pattern that's in this one. I love the way that this looks. I just love this spread right here. This one's a very lovely one for me. Here is a Copic marker one, and this one's just marker. I was trying to do some very loose flowers and just loosen up. I was just trying to loosen up and finally let go of the idea that things needed to be perfect, and I love that. So this one is the same thing. This one was with colored pencils. I painted some flowers that I had in my studio and then just kind of filled everything up. I love the color combo so much. I love the textures of the oil pastels. This was my first time trying them out in a sketchbook. Super fun. This is a landscape, which is one of the goals that I had, and I did it. So it's super cute, super fun, lots of textures, which is something I love. This was again going in with just a marker and not having any sketches before. I used reference for the characters, and I really love the way that they came out. They're so loose, and my lines are usually not like that. I'm very stiff in my work, and whenever I see loose things happen like that, it's so magical to me. Like, I love the way that she looks. She looks so restful. I used reference for all of these, and they all just came out in their own way. Here is another spread of some loose sketching of some characters, again using reference and just making some marks. Same thing here. This one is color pencils, and I love the colors, the way that they came out. It's so bouncy. Like, I feel the movement. To me, like, the flowers are like coming right at me, and I like that. And this is a snake with some textures to it. Really fun. This I actually turned into a digital illustration. I love the way that she came out. Here I had some leftover paint, so I just kind of like put it wherever, and this is what came out. It was my first time using negative space in my work, and I really like it. I kind of want to do that some more because it looks super nice. More of the marker kind of sketching. I like doing that. It helps me loosen up and not overthink stuff, because I can't erase anything. Like, what is there, that's what's gonna be there. So I got some soft pastels. Did not like them. The texture makes me cringe when I'm drawing with them, but you know, I tried them. This is with oil pastels. This one is color pencil and some markers. Very loose, like absolutely super loose. I finally just did not care about things being perfect. I just wanted to explore and experiment, and this is not what a sketchbook is for. Like, I love this. This was like nostalgic things to me. Like, fans are so nostalgic. I love the textures in here. I've been loving the mixed media feel of oil pastels with the marker. Like, I really like the way that the hands look holding those textured flowers. Here again was the paint, leftover paint. Just did a little house and tried that negative space thing again. Not so well, but you know, trying. I really like the way the Mocha pot came out. I love pink and blue. I just love that combination. Some funky birds, because I love funky birds. Some flower vases with funky birds. I turned her into an illustration that I really like. I really like the way this falling bird looks. I want to do something with it because, I don't know, I just really like it. I can feel the motion. And I also like this birdie right here. These paintings are my favorite paintings in this sketchbook. Here are my birds. I love my birds. I finally figured out like my style with them, and it's so fun. I love the flower. It looks like it's reaching out to the birds, and the birds is coming to the flower, and they're all work together. I love the colors so much, and I love this one. The textures are so fun. I wasn't even thinking about it being perfect. I think I made a couple of mess ups of how the spiral would actually work, and I made the shadows in the wrong spot. But I don't really care. The colors are so fun. The texture is so lovely. And this spread is one of my favorites in this whole sketchbook. This was some oil pastel fun, just letting loose. Like, you can see how loose I was letting compared to the other sketchbook and even the beginning of this sketchbook, and I love that. That was my main goal, and for me to finally have achieved it feels so good. This was the house that I grew up with when I was a teenager, and it looks just like it. So nostalgic to me. Some character stuff, and my last page, just some of the things that I like drawing, and that's it. That's my style now. Very loose, very funky, very fun, and I found it in these two sketchbooks, so I hope you like that.